Welcome back to ReBelle, everyone. I'm Belle Hahn, and it is Mental Wellness Month, and I am so happy to be here and in this incredible space with Richard, whom I just met a few moments ago. But your reputation precedes you through your beautiful wife. Nusha came on and not only sang your praises, but really welcomed me into a sense of your world and film, which I am so connected to as well. So welcome, Richard, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. It's wonderful.
It's wonderful.
And yes, she is my better half. And I'm very lucky and blessed. And it's really interesting. Today is May the 7th. That's when we're recording this. May the 4th is our anniversary of when we met. And I'll never forget, She was wearing a May the 4th be with you t-shirt and had no idea it was a Star Wars thing. You're wearing a May the 4th t-shirt on May the 4th. And I love Star Wars, and she didn't know. And then I find out years later it was an ex-boyfriend's t-shirt of hers.
Hysterical. Well, this is very interesting because on May 4th, 3 days ago, I woke up in Moustique, close to, your hometown. And a lot of Brits, amazing humans were there. And I was on a horse and I said, May the 4th, may the horse be with me on the 4th, because that was the energy. And I submerged into the water on a horse that morning that I left. And I haven't talked about this publicly, but decided it would come out because you said that. I started crying when my body entered the water on the horse because I felt a different level of being held and weightless than I've ever had in my life, because the horse is so powerful and such a force, and the horse was with me. And then the weightlessness of the water and the ocean and the buoyancy of the salt and the energy was so powerful. And it unlocked something in me that truly was a force, and it was extraordinary. And I know Nusha's in the healing world, and I've been wanting to share this with her because it was so extraordinary for me, as I cried the whole plane ride home, like for 6 hours. So may the 4th be with you every day. And ironically, I was on a horse on the 4th and was just thinking about the power of that day. So amazing that was happy anniversary.
Thank you. You just put one of the most arguably romantic images in my head that I've ever seen of you on a horse.
It was white too.
Wow.
No, it was really, and my Richard, because I have a Richard, was running along the beach filming it while I was sobbing.
Wow.
And then he held my hand while I cried for the rest of the plane ride, because it unlocked, I have a history with horses. And my horse died in a way that was so traumatic for me that I just sort of shut myself off when I was a teenager. And I haven't really ridden very much since, but certainly never in the water. And I had this calling to do it. And I did it. And it was so beautiful. Like the way it happened, we were supposed to leave the night before, like it was all just aligned and held and weightless. It's a really amazing, powerful feeling.
I'm so delighted that you were able to have that moment after experiencing something like that loss. And it really does give weight to that saying that, the sweet is never as sweet without the sour. In a sense, and sometimes those silver linings can come. But and I haven't had the same type of positive experience with horses. Once when I was a kid, I went scouting in Peru in the Juarez Mountains for a film location, which was way too high for any helicopter to get to. And I'm on the edge of a mountain on a tiny horse that literally would be called a pony in any other country. And I'm a big guy, and the whole path on the edge of this mountain gave way, and I was literally on the horse. The horse's back legs were going down the mountain. That was it. I was about to go down with the horse, and I leaned forward, and everyone pulled us back up. And the horse was terrible to me before that, and after the horse and I went through that together, the horse was pretty good to me. And I haven't done much riding since that.
I mean, who knew this could be a whole horse podcast, because I had a horse named Easter that bucked me off every single time. I had such trauma from her. I kept trying to rebirth myself every time Easter popped me off. I'd hop back on and I'd fly again. It's a miracle that I rode after that, but there is something very powerful about equine therapy that I found. And there was this one, just because we have to go there, there was an amazing healer in incredible man named Wyatt Webb, and he has this program called It's Not About the Horse.
Right.
And NFL players are known to walk into his ring and burst into tears because all you do is pick up the hoof of the horse and go to clean it out, and he can see like right through whatever you're holding on to just by your interaction with the horse. And I had another cathartic cry with that one, and this was also after my love horse, my little man Tate, died. So it's just really interesting. Anyway, back to May 4th, and when you met Nusha, the love of horses, the love of beautiful creature goddesses like Nusha.
What a blessing that t-shirt was,
right?
To begin this podcast.
I mean,
with the story.
You never know what we're going to say, and you never know what's going to come through. But I was so excited and delighted to learn that Nusha has been working on a film around mental health and her mother, and we had the most beautiful conversation. And then she shared that you are also working on many films, which I did not. I did not know all of the details, and I still do not. But will you share with us a little bit about your history in film and how you got here?
Sure.
And here also to Santa Barbara and in this chair as well.
Sure, of course. Well, film has been my life's undying passion. I love cinema. I especially love it when it comes from just a really distinctive and beautiful place. And I love great stories, and I'm a storyteller. And, I grew up in England, in North London, and my family were immigrants. My dad's side of the family came from India via Iraq. There were Jews that were exiled from Iraq and fled to India. And then eventually my grandmother was a math teacher in India. And then after my dad was born, they moved to England. And my mum's side of the family, she was born in England, but originally her side of the family came from Ukraine, and Jewish on that side too. So I kind of grew up in England, not feeling that would be my home, in a sense. Like, so grateful to the UK for giving me so many opportunities that I had to kind of carve out myself. But essentially, it never really spoke the language to me of where I felt like I belonged. And the one language I spoke that I wanted to learn how to speak in a better way was cinema. And the country that made the movies that I loved was America. And so I always, from a young age, wanted to come and live in the States. And I would have all these visions. Even I can remember when I was 8 or 10 years old of living near the ocean in America. And it's interesting, every day I'm seeing the manifestation I had when I was 10. So there was a powerful draw for me to be here for a long time. It's been 20 years this summer that I've lived in the States. So it is home. I'm an American citizen now. And my kids, Nusha and I, we have 2 children, and they're both born in the States. So I'm actually a very patriotic American immigrant. And I'm really proud to say that. And I find that the way I am instinctively, I can really fly in this country, and in a way that I could never do back in the UK. And
why?
I just think the atmosphere of ambition and storytelling in a much more international and broader way is embraced here. And that dream of wanting to do well, which obviously we call the American dream, but wanting to be your best self and as I say, just fly, is supported here. And it is the language that I find myself, whether I've lived in New York, I've lived all over California, it is the language of the United States. And it really, and it's just the atmosphere and the energy that lifts me up, and I want to belong to. It's hard work, and but it doesn't feel like an impossible thing when you're here. It feels like it's achievable, and you see it all around you. It's really interesting. A lot of my friends, I realize none of them are employees. They all have their own companies, or they all have their own businesses, or they're all doing their own endeavors. And I find that a very natural thing with everyone I meet here. And I find that to be incredibly inspiring, no matter what they do. But in the UK, it was a sense that I went to a public elementary school, and your teacher I think I was 14 or 15, they insist that you do 2 weeks work experience. And the work experience that my principal had given me was to work in British Gas. And there was no way I was going to go work in British Gas. God, no. And I basically had read a story about how Steven Spielberg had snuck into Universal Studios when he was a kid. And I thought, well, and I realized that a lot of the movies, Tim Burton's Batman, the James Bond films, the classic Carry On movies, and the Richard Donner Superman films, they were all shot about 30 minutes from where I lived at a place called Pinewood Studios. And I found the bus that went there, and I wrote to them. I wrote about 3 or 4 letters, handwritten letters, to ask if I could have my work experience there. And no one wrote back to me because my letter wasn't addressed to anybody. I didn't know who to write to. This was before the internet. This is in the early 90s. And so I just kind of lied to my headmaster, principal, and said I had 2 weeks work experience. He said, oh, fine. So I was off British Gas, and my dad drove me to Pinewood. I didn't end up getting the bus. And he dropped me at the gate, and he said, have a great day. And I said, thanks. And he drove off, and I literally, no embellishment, I just walked up to the security guard, and I had this whole story planned to tell him on how my dad works at Studio B or something, and he would let me in. And he didn't say anything. He said morning and just waved me in. And I just walked into Pinewood, and I walked around. And at lunchtime, I was sitting in the cafeteria, and they were shooting some movies that day, and all of the crew would kind of be around the caf. And I just met loads of people. And I did that every day for about 2 or 3 days. And on the second day, one of the cameramen I met said, why don't you come onto this film that we're making and meet people? And I met an American director called Blake Edwards. And I told him what I was doing. I didn't know who Blake Edwards was. And he gave me a job on a movie called Son of the Pink Panther. And I never went back to school. And
Now do it.
And that's how I started. And I worked on that film, making tea, sweeping the floors. And they were so kind to me.
Oh,
he was so kind. He would
that.
sit me. So say there was a set, and you couldn't wipe the smile off my face on the first day of filming. I was on a big film set, and it was like Christmas. And I will never forget, there was only enough room for the director of photography, who was the operator, and the focus puller to sit in the corner of the room with the camera while the actor would come in. And the DP said to the focus puller, I'll pull focus on this. Richard, why don't you sit next to the camera? And so I'm 15 years old wearing my dad's overgrown suit, because I thought that's how you should dress at Pinewood. And I sat next to the camera and I watched it, and I was like, I get it.
Wow.
I get it. And then
I have chills. That's it. That's the moment, right? You just know, it's in you.
Yeah, well, because of whether Blake Edwards thought he was doing it consciously or not, that was mentorship.
Right.
And that was that support, just reaching out to a kid and giving them access to something that no one would normally have. And I had no nepotism. I had no connections. I had nothing. My family, immigrants from India. Like, I had nothing. And there I was. And I just fell in love, and I got it. And the British crews were just so supportive and tremendous. And then I went from that movie to another movie, to another movie, to another movie. And then all my friends had graduated school and went to college, and I never did. I just kept going from movie to movie, sweeping floors, making tea. And eventually my tea was so bad I had to get promoted, I think, eventually. But that's essentially how it began.
Wow, what a story. I mean, what a story. I love that so much. My father was a Hungarian refugee and immigrant, and was always telling me about the times when, he worked the land and ran from camp to camp and became a very successful art dealer. But it's incredible to hear these stories of true, beyond resilience. It's like, when magic strikes you and you say yes. Mm-hmm. And that takes more than hope, I think. It takes faith. Yeah. Something beyond us that you just trust, and you went for it. Because just as much as he gave you the opportunity and the mentorship, you were open enough to experience and witness what you could see beyond not just the lens and the camera, but what you could create.
Absolutely. And I think my dad had installed in me from a young age, he'd always put it in very simplistic terms. He would always say to me, there are 2 types of people. There are sheep and shepherds. Who do you want to be?
Interesting.
And that's a very simple way of looking at it. But that spoke to me in my young ears at the time of being like, oh, I can carve out my own future. Don't look for a job at British Gas.
Press on it.
Yeah,
Right? Get the pedal going.
Tiny public school in North London, and it was, you know, I wasn't growing up surrounded by wealth in any stretch of the imagination. So to have my imagination feel like I could do that, I think I would give down to just those levels of support, both from the director and my father, and also just their allowance of me being 16 years old at the time and saying, I'm not going to continue school. I want to stay working here. I mean, if my daughter or son said that, I might be like, what are you talking about? But they let me.
They trusted.
Yeah. And that what you said there about that sense of magic and feeling like the planets were aligned in a very powerful way and allowed you to just go right through that kind of astral gate in a way to your future. That is why I never find myself ever contemplating giving up. Because things are super, super hard. And they've been, you know, especially around COVID times, it was impossible. But I never considered that I'd give up because I'm just like, well, obviously this is meant to be.
Oh, well, that's very full circle because perfect full circle to the mental health center and where we are. When I was little, I had a lot of depression because I had experienced a lot of abuse, very early. It was my first imprint, was my nanny. And it lasted, that's okay. I mean, it brought me here, this part of the journey. But that was at 14 months was the first molester. And it lasted, I share the story probably more than people need to hear, but I think I keep sharing it because every time you do, the shame drops and the witnessing, being witnessed and allowing the reaction and the feel to move through as like, this was a story, but this isn't who I am. And not only that, it 100% gave me the strength to become who I am because the abuse also didn't stop. So I had to eventually learn how to stop the pattern within myself. And it took a lot of self accountability and a lot of intense work, but I had the access and the tools and the finances to do so, which is why mental health for all is so important to me. And especially, of course, in honoring it in Mental Health Month, I go back to my father, who you just said to never give up hope. And that was, he said, you know, Isabel, it is not just Winston Churchill that says, you know, never give up, never, 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 never give up. But it is me. It is your father. I will always tell you never to give up. And he, as much as I cried or as much as I went through, he constantly repeated that message. And being someone that had gone through immigration and fear and running, all of it, for him to say that to me, I didn't. Yeah. And so I really appreciate that you brought that into the space of never giving up. I was on the Mystique retreat. I was that I just was on before the horse. The woman that told me to ride the horse is Victoria Strong, who has a hat that says never give up. And her nonprofit is Never Give Up because they are building an all-inclusive playground in honor of her daughter, Gwendolyn, that died when she was I think she was 7. Oh my God. From a disease. And she was the most joyful, playful little being that would be at every playground all over the place, but it wasn't inclusive. So that where we are, you know, the field, I think Ty Warner is who just gave $5 million to finish the project. And she has a lot of amazing elements that are going into it, including a gratitude cafe and connection back to the earth by being on the playground and across from the beach in our very own Santa Barbara. So never give up has always been a mantra for me. And so on so many levels, thank you for not giving up because you made so much beauty in this world. Can you share with us a little bit about your projects and what you've created?
With delight. So my first film, and it's this wonderful cyclical thing, I was desert dancer, or as we say in England, dancer. And
much more lovely.
And it was a true story of a dancer in Iran, who in Iran it is forbidden to dance in a Western way. And he taught himself with his friends how to dance in school by using proxy servers to hack into YouTube and watch YouTube tutorials to teach them how to dance, which they would do in an underground prayer room. And they would put on these dance performances in the desert, hundreds of miles outside of Tehran, where all of Tehran University would come in secret and watch them. And he became quite well known there. He was caught up in the Green Movement protests.
Oh, wow.
And in 2008 at the time. And he was arrested, beaten within an inch of his life, escaped, and fled as an asylum seeker to Paris, where he became like an amazing star dancer because he chose to use protest as a method of dance.
Wow.
I heard his story, traveled to France to meet him, recorded his story, and a screenwriter that I worked with called John Croco wrote this beautiful screenplay. And I just felt cool to tell his story because I really believe in giving voices the opportunity to speak before they have a chance to be extinguished. And there are so many things that we never get to hear because they don't ever have the chance to speak.
Exactly.
And I never saw it as an Iranian story. I saw it as a human story, as a human rights story. And so I went in, I spent about 2 years hopping around New York City and London and raising $4 million by myself from 31 incredibly generous people. And I shot the film on 35 mil in the deserts of Morocco and in Casablanca and in Paris and in London. Most ambitious film. I gave all my feedback to make sure it was shot on film, and I had enough money to fly the film stock back to Technicolor in London to process it because I wanted it to look like a really great movie. And lo and behold, it ended up selling all over the world. Everyone made their money back, and I showed the film at the United Nations, the Clinton Foundation, the members. I screened it in Congress. Roger Derling here in Santa Barbara gave it the world premiere, opening night, 30th anniversary, Santa Barbara Film Festival. It's amazing that 10 years later I now live here.
Wild. That was your first film 10 years ago with Roger premiering it.
Yeah, he was the first one to recognize me as a filmmaker. No one else had.
Wow.
And I love Roger. And I didn't, like, it became immediately apparent to me how special as an individual he was to the community in Santa Barbara. And it became very apparent to me how beautiful the community in Santa Barbara was as well. And that had, I think that, so that festival was before the mudslides and everything had happened in Montecito. And so I just became emotionally tied to this place and always wanting to move here at some point. And no, it was an amazing experience. And to have a film play theatrically, like a truly independent, like I raised the money off 31 people. There wasn't a film company in the world that would back this movie or back me. And to then have raised all the money myself, be signing checks on a set in the desert in Morocco, working with the greatest dance choreographer of our time, arguably Akram Khan, and doing these incredible dance sequences in this movie, making a film the old-fashioned way, and then actually getting it distributed around the world theatrically. I didn't realize at the time how uniquely special that was, because now you make independent films, and then if you're lucky, it's on Amazon. Not millions of people will get off their chairs, get in their car and go to the theater to have but I want to make movies for the cinema. I want to bring community together and I miss the time where we all liked I would say it was pre-2016, where we all liked the same thing. I miss that, and I want to make movies that get back to that, that get people in a cinema like church, like synagogue, and watch movies that we all love and stop this division. And that's my kind of personal goal. And then since that film was a particularly special thing and moment, and then since then it's been this very interesting journey of rediscovering my voice as a father, rediscovering what I want to say and how I want to say it. I went back to doing short films. They were really successful. And
can you name a few?
So I directed a film in 2018 called Souls of Totality, which was the first and only film in cinema history to shoot a movie during a real total solar eclipse.
Wow.
And it contains a Wana, where the movie literally goes from day to night to day.
I want to see all of this. I'm like, I've seen it. Keep going.
And it was the most incredible experience. It probably was the top of the mountain because it was myself and the most amazing crew who have all gone on to do insane things. The DP's been Oscar nominated twice. The writer of the short film is the head of Stranger Things. Like, it's like, so everyone since that short has blossomed in such a beautiful way. And that collaboration, I found really just made a piece of magic. And that film, it's a love story set in a suicide cult, but it's about division, and it's about the sacrifices we make for love. But it is a film for cinema. It won, I think, 20 film festivals.
Whoa!
And almost got the Oscar nomination and didn't, because that's the short film branch. But we
congratulations on everything you've said so far. I'm in awe.
The best thing about that short film is that it's still loved today, like almost 10 years later. I've had filmmakers that I've looked up to my whole career, Denis Villeneuve, Christopher Nolan, J.J. Abrams, you name it. They've all requested to watch the film, and they then write me these emails, and I'm just like, wow, that person watched this film and loved it. And it really validates the struggle and keep going.
The sour and the sweet.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Wow. I mean, you've said so much that I wanted to touch on, but I want to keep hearing your projects. So I'm just going to bottle my response until you feel like you're at a completion, because there's so much more you've done, and I want to give you the space and the voice to share it.
Well, it's interesting with the Green Ribbon and Mental Health Awareness Month. One of the films I'm most proud of is one of my least watched films. It's a short film that Nusha and I produced together that I directed, called A Million Eyes. And
A Million Eyes?
Yeah. It was.
I paint it with eyes a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of eyes.
The window to the soul.
Probably 1.5 million eyes by now. But
there you go.
Yeah, keep going.
It's the story of a young photographer in Chattanooga who can't afford a camera. It has a beat up camera, but he sees the world in a different way, and he meets a mentor, a photographer, that gives him a camera and teaches him about photography. And it's a story of him searching for his muse and realizing it's his alcoholic mother.
Wow.
And it's a mother-son story. And
how beautiful.
Yeah, and like the last short that went on to win all these film festivals and did really well, and almost got the nomination again, and it was just a wonderful. But
this one hasn't, you said, isn't as watched as much.
No, I think because it's like 25 minutes long rather than the Souls of Totality, which was 17, and it's a gradual build. It's not a solar eclipse and a suicide cult. It's the story of a mother and a son, and it's the film I'm really most proud of. And it's the film that it really cemented to listen to my instincts on, because sometimes I'm surrounded by some very experienced people that have very strong opinions. And that was the first time I was like, nah, I think I'm right. I'm going to do it this way. And then in watching, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm glad I listened to myself. And so I found my I found my silence and my confidence on that film in a way I hadn't discovered before. And then since that film, it's been the journey of getting the next features off the ground. And that's where we are today.
The last one had me teary. That relationship between that alcoholic parent and child, and that wanting to fix, and that those different lenses through the eyes, and having to project it back to the self and the boundaries and the lens. Really want to watch all three. Okay, so I'm making a list, and I think, clearly on this podcast we'll be right. I see the names across, because everybody wants to see all of these films. What is current for you? And congratulations again. Wow.
Well, I think just to keep it in the theme of the energy of what we're talking about, I'm always called to speak first about the one that feels most furthest away and the hardest, which is a film I have been trying to get off the ground for well over 10 years.
Okay.
Called 1,000 Paper Cranes, the true story of Sadako Sasaki. It's Japan's Anne Frank. It's the story of a girl who, when she was 2 years old, survived the bomb in Hiroshima, even though she was half a mile from the epicenter of the blast. 10 years later, developed leukemia from the radiation poisoning and was given 3 months to live. And she heard a story from her mother, who was trying to protect her mental health. and give her hope, even though she knew she was going to die. And she told her daughter, if you fold 1,000 origami cranes, you will get one wish from the gods. And her mother felt that would give her ample hope, and she did. She made a wish to get better so she could go to elementary school with her friends. And she lived for well over a year and folded thousands and thousands and thousands of cranes and died. And a Canadian author traveled through Japan after hearing this story in the 60s, found the diary of this girl and wrote a children's book about it.
Oh my God.
The children's book, she made the decision to withhold the truth from children, that she got past 1,000 cranes and didn't get her wish. And so she ended the book saying that Sadako got to 644 cranes. And the book went on to become, I would say, arguably the most read children's book of all time. It is in the national curriculum in most, if not all, Western schools in the world. I learnt about it as a 12-year-old kid in school in London, and I have friends that have learnt about it in the Middle East, in Australia, in Canada, in South America. And so much so that most of the paper in southern Japan comes from recycled donations of paper cranes sent by children from all over the world. What these children do is and why the story is so important to show and tell, is these children read the book, realize she didn't get to 1,000 cranes, and fold the rest to make a wish. And what do all the children in the world wish for? They wish for peace. They wish that no child like Sadako will be harmed by these bombs ever again. And they make these wishes and they send them. And the story has a magic in it, because it's actually about the lies that we as parents tell our children to protect them. Here, Sadako's mother is telling her a lie, that if she folds 1,000 paper cranes, she'll get a wish to get better. And here...
thank you. We usually cry here on ReBelle.
Thank you for letting me share the Sadako story.
So touching and beautiful. Keep going.
Well, so here you have Sadako's mother giving her belief in a lie that can never come true to give her hope. And Eleanor's doing the same with children. She is lying to the children around the world. And what they're both doing is a disservice to these kids, because these kids can take it, and these kids are the future, and they're the ones who can make the biggest change. And at an award ceremony in Japan, Eleanor Kaur, the author, met Sadako's mother and found out the truth, which was that Sadako had changed her wish to peace. And so this is why this film has to get made. This is why this story needs to be told, because Eleanor's book gave that wish hope that it can come true, because you see what these children around the world are actually doing. They are all believing in what Sadako wanted, which was for bombs never to be dropped on kids again. And I think as a human race, we can all agree on that. But with nuclear weapons, it's even more destructive because of the generational effect it happens with the radiation poisoning. And so I went to Eleanor Kaur's house in New Jersey, met her family. They allowed me to go through boxes and boxes of she had died the year before, of her work. And in it, I found an unpublished autobiography where I found the actual story. I went to Japan many times, and I met with Sadako's family, and they gave me full permission to tell the story. And in fact, when they had all this resentment built up towards Eleanor, because they felt that she had lied in their book about her, and they didn't know that Eleanor had actually met the mother. And when I showed Eleanor's books to the Sasaki family, it gave them this long-held catharsis over many decades.
Yeah.
And so they gave me this permission to tell this film. And a dear friend of mine, Ben Belle, wrote the most beautiful screenplay. And we've been trying to get this film made for so long. It almost got made in 2019. But the way the world was back then, all these op-eds were written about me in the Washington Post saying, how dare somebody who's not Japanese tell our story. And that hurt more than anyone. That hurt the Japanese people. I met the Prime Minister, I met the Mayor of Hiroshima. They were dumbfounded because they had given me permission to tell the story. And I feel that we're now in a much more sensible time.
what do you need to make this film? Like, it's a very, like, let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be made.
Yeah, it's an period films, and it's an expensive film, but because of the way that technology is helping filmmakers be able to tell stories now, I don't need as much money as we do, but I've got an amazing actress who's just signed on to do the movie. Can't announce it here, but she's incredible. And I feel more determined than ever to get this film made.
Let's go. It's Fire Horse time, baby. And we didn't start the May the Horse be with us for no reason. This is...
It's really lovely,
it
by the way,
shakes me to the core.
Because I'm never able to really talk about this honestly. And it's just wonderful too. Thank you.
And it's so beautiful that you're bringing this to the mental wealth. I call it the mental wealth center, because that's the intention is, you're asking for peace for all. And that comes through the ability to release these stories and to share them with the world. And I have a deep connection to both Cranes and Japan that it's also maybe not the best idea to share right this moment, but many people know my connection to them both. And I deeply love the culture, and I haven't ever been there, and it's a dream for me to go. And actually my very sweet ex-husband folds cranes, but also lots of origami for our children. We're very close, and I'm seeing them right after this. Yeah. But every time my daughter receives a dragon or whatever from her dad, she has a collection of origami, and I collected it when I was little. So the connection is like, I'm going to cry all over again, but it's quite cathartic for me. And our world needs peace now more than ever. Mm-hmm. And so thank you. Just thank you. And we'll get it done. It's just energy that needs to move, and we're here for you to do that. You just met our producer. I have zero doubt that this is very meant to be. So just as you're finishing sharing this cathartic new project.
Never giving up on that project.
No, we're not giving up.
It wants to be made. It wants to be told. And it will do once it exists. And I'll say this now, and people can look back in this in years to come. It will do what it needs to do. And it will win an Academy Award, and I will help you make it. Thank you. You're welcome. My pleasure, an honor, and it's what I do. I'm a director and producer myself. So I'm all about collaboration and finding you what you need to get it done, because that's what the world needs now. Love, sweet love, and a whole lot of peace. So with all those pieces of the puzzle, you also, just because we're down to our last couple of minutes, even though we could clearly go onward forever, and we will, and I can't wait to have dinner with you and Nusha. That's why I felt cool to talk about that project. Richard. Thank you for talking about that project, but the other project that you said you could also share that has just been released, so we clearly are releasing into the world. What will be the name? Can we say the name of the film that's taken you 10 years that we're going to make now? The one we just spoke about. Yes. 1,000 Paper Cranes. So we have 1,000 paper cranes. In Japanese, it's Sembazuru. Gorgeous. 1,000 Paper Cranes. Gorgeous. I can't wait to go. I have the tattoo on my arm. Oh and my God. I cannot. This is so unreal. And then I have a Richard. And I speak to her family pretty much every month. And they always check in and be like, how come this doesn't... Don't worry, we've aligned, we've met. That's what needs to happen, and here we go. Fire Horse time. So the one that was just released was with someone we may all know named. So I produced a film that comes out in September with Brad Pitt called Heart of the Beast, and I'm Belle, Beauty and the Beast, so it all makes sense. This episode is really epic. I love that. Okay, Heart of the Beast. I love that you recognize synchronicity. It's all everywhere. In small details. In every detail. Holy water everywhere. I love it. No, I love it. I'm alive, Carly. Water. Whenever something really magical happens, like water falls on me. And we play the song by Celine Dion, Alive. So I'm feeling very alive. Okay, tell me about Brad Pitt. Well, I'm alive. My mum is a German Shepherd dog trainer and breeder. Has been ever since I can remember my first memory. Grew up around 15 German Shepherds. And I've always wanted to make a film for her that is the definitive dog movie for German Shepherds. And so I chased this script for 5 years, and I've redeveloped it. And it is a survival film about a retired Navy SEAL officer and his military trained combat dog. He has a heart attack in his Cessna plane over Alaska, crashes his plane in the wilderness. And it's about he and his dog and how they try and traverse the wilderness to try and get to safety. And it is a film about finding catharsis after PTSD. It's a film that honors our soldiers. And it's a film that really just speaks to the friendship between human beings and dogs, in specific German Shepherds. And I've seen it many times, and it's the definitive dog film for sure. I'm really proud of it. And it's nuts, like, that you would develop that script and you would get that film off the ground, and it would find its way to Paramount, and it would find its way to Brad Pitt, and it would get made. I mean, it's as a huge film. So it's my first studio film. Wow. Super proud.
Wow. High five. Yeah, let's go.
Super proud.
So proud of you, and so
and here's the
proud
other
of
thing.
Nusha.
I
like the whole
share
team. I just love it. I love it.
Nusha's very happy. But I want to share this incredible synchronicity, and I just realized this to share because of our conversation about synchronicity. The second film that I made tea and coffee on when I was a teenager was Interview with the Vampire with Brad Pitt.
Oh, come on.
And I haven't yet told him, but this full circle moment.
Like it hot.
That
it's Maryland month next month. So, whoa. Okay.
These new films. It's crazy.
It's not crazy. It's what you're meant to do. And I think, back to full blown making crazy cool. We're at the mental health center, like crazy. We're all crazy. It's all crazy. It's all magic. It's manic. It's magic. It's all of it. And there's darkness and light around every phase. There's the vampire, there's the beast, there's the beauty, there's duality all the time. So if you're constantly letting it unfold within you and around you, you live a magical life. So for me, I'm definitely crazy, clearly. And
no,
I love my magic. I really love it. And I embrace it because it keeps bringing me the voices that the world needs now. And the more I feel connected, the more also, I happen to have had a German Shepherd breed myself that I was very close to with my ex-husband, who's such a dear friend, who's a therapist. So like back to mental health and dogs and animals and connection, and it's all so beautiful. Yeah. And so thank you for bringing the heart of the beast to life. Thank you to this, rebellion. Thank you for sharing your insanely powerful projects that you've already made and the ones that we have to do together.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Not only are we in the process of Mental Health Month, but Mother's Day is around the corner, and you shared the power of the story, many stories around the mother, the alcoholic mother and son. I know that your incredibly beautiful and brave wife has been making a film about her mother. And I know very well that she shared, in the other room just a few weeks ago about how that was unraveling for her and healing at the same time. So beautiful. And how has it been for you to not only live that life, but to also be a filmmaker in the world that you've grown up in, and to watch your wife take this on?
It's really interesting because Nusha is an instinctive artist. She chose a career early in her life that she excelled in and did really well. She is and was the best injectable nurse in America, arguably. I say this in front of her and she dismisses it, but it's true. There isn't a celebrity, a member of the royalty, there isn't a person, head of business that you would immediately think of that hasn't probably gone to see her at some point in time. But that wasn't her calling. That was just a career path she took and ended up doing really well. And she never finds the same love that she does unless she is creating, unless she's at a piano, unless she's writing a story, unless she's writing poetry, unless she's writing these notes in her notebook to herself for her own mental health, which I find is a really, really helpful thing, to put things down through your hands, through a pen on the page.
I relate.
She's amazing. She's got an incredible instinct. And I would say the core of her being is this relationship she has had with her mother. and it's a very complicated relationship. Her mother has got mental health issues, and we live with her, and she's an amazing present grandmother to our kids, but she will just show up unannounced and not leave, and then we'll leave on. She's as free as a bird, and it's the most wonderful thing to witness and the most difficult thing to experience at the same time. And Nusha just has an abundance of love. It's her mum, but she really feels that she needs to explore this, not just through therapy, but through sharing the story of what it's like to grow up with a mum who's like that. And she's the best person to talk about it. But she has been working with the writer on developing the screenplay and raising the money to make this into an independent film. And people always ask me, is it something that I would produce? And I think it's super important to give her the space to explore this. And I can just be there always if ever needed for advice or anything. But because it's never really just about the end result of the film. It's always about the making of it and what that does to you as a human being and the way that makes you grow. And when she makes that film, and it's called How the Petals Fall, when she makes that film, the end result doesn't necessarily mean as much as the process that she's going to go on making it. And so I hope that process, when it happens, is full of blessings. I know it will be for her. And I just wish to watch her in her creative element, because that's where she's pointed like the North Star. And that's the journey that she's been going on, I think, away from the injectables and more towards being empowered as a storyteller. And the first story is going to be a really personal one for her.
Oh, so wow, how powerful to hear it. Especially, Mother's Day is coming up, and I just spent the last few days with my mother, who I had a very wild childhood, right. And I'm announcing it publicly now. We are also filming my mother as well, and she's been on the podcast, and we've talked about my history, my very abusive history, and the mental health issues in our family and all the things that have been part of it. But she was just diagnosed with kidney cancer. And so part of my tears today, thank you for the release. That's why I cried the whole way back on the horse, full circle. But because I had found out in Mustique, where I had also found out she had had bladder cancer a few years before, and the island people were all hugging me and loving me and but we got you. And so community is so important through these moments of healing and catharsis. But with my mother, I'm actually in a very similar place with Nusha, because I'm documenting the beauty beyond the breakdown. It's back to the heart of the beast. It's so connected in the process of watching her learn about certain holistic things, approaches, and then where she needs to have surgery, and all of it working together, and her angel team coming together. And I don't think I've ever seen my mother so at peace, because it's like we located the issue, and the issue of the kidney is fear. So maybe she's been holding on to some ancestral fear with her mother's breast cancer when she was little, or, and I had just been in Washington, D.C. right before I found out for the People versus Poison, where we did pass the bill for the first time round. We still have to wait for another round, but where I was there podcasting and listening to the incredible leaders talk about People versus Poison. And with so much poison in our food, there's been so much cancer, and all of this, I can tell. And so to receive that news about my mother, and that the kidney had to come out right after that, the poison on the people is also the poison on the land. And my mother, who is Mother Earth to me, was always about the garden. And so for you to say I'm remembering now, she said it, but as the petals fall. How the petals fall, I grew up in wild, I like to say, for sure, of some version of Grey Gardens, very wild, and issues with our family history. and so much beauty and so much abundance and so much flowering in our every garden we were ever in. And I think it's back to the full circle of what you said around the sour and the sweet, because these moments with my mother recently have been so juicy and so beautiful and so delicious. And I'm here for it. And I want to capture it with she's a legend, her voice, and I see a legend that was never fully recognized and honored. And so to get a chance to do that now, for you to be able to give your mother the gift of a film with a dog, like all of these gifts back to our mothers, is just happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
And happy Mother's Day, Nusha.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day, Mama.
Happy Mother's Day to my mom, to Noosh, to all the mums.
To all the mamas, and to all the truth and transparency that help us love them even more. Thank you so much.
Yeah.